Hi there, this is Sarah Kuhn. If you are an INFJ or in a relationship with an INFJ or related to an INFJ in any way, and you want to figure out how they operate, what makes them tick, and how to communicate with them better, this is the show for you. It's called The Quiet Ones. This is a show that deconstructs INFJs, what they are, how they think, how they feel, how they operate, and how they relate to people with other personality types. Whether you have just found out that you're an INFJ or have known for a number of years, there is something for everyone. You will learn more about your personality type so that you understand who you are and understand how you operate in the workplace, in relationships, in your family, and with friends. I want you to walk away from every episode feeling like you have a place of belonging, feeling like you are no longer alone, feeling like you have a place to be heard and seen and understood as you really are. This is a place to connect with other INFJs, to learn and grow and really thrive. I want to give you inspiration and real life strategies that are going to help you figure out how to live your best life every single day. Though INFJs are very rare, you are not alone in this world. You are not the only one who thinks the way that you do and feels the way that you do. Hear from real INFJs just like you. Hey there, Sarah Kuhn here. Welcome to another episode of The Quiet Ones. I hope that you are enjoying this new year. It has been a pretty good year for me so far. The weather's been really nice in Boston, so I've been able to get outside and take a few walks on the beach, which I love. I've been wondering how your New Year's resolutions are going. I hope that they're going well. I have a few resolutions myself. Some of them are going really well, others of them they're not, quite honestly. But I'm trying to be really patient and gentle with myself and trying to make small changes because I know that those small changes will build up to big changes faster than what I think. So one of my resolutions is to be more comfortable being me, showing my real personality, and also accepting myself the way that I am. One of the things that I haven't always been comfortable with is being single. I've been single for a long time. It feels like a really long time. I've watched all of my friends get married and have kids, and they keep looking at me like, okay, what's going on here? What's wrong with you? But I love it when I can find people who like to celebrate being single and embrace it. And a friend of mine suggested that I talk to a lady named Acamea, who wrote a book about dispelling the myths of being single. And I was so happy to be able to talk to her, and I'm so excited to be able to share the interview with you. So without further ado, let's get to the interview. Okay, so today we're talking with Acamea Deadwiler, who is a writer and author from Las Vegas. Acamea, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here and talking to, my fellow introverts.
Yes. So a friend of mine suggested that I talk to you, and he said that you were an INFP. Is that right?
I am. I'm an INFP-A actually, and I'd never heard of that little hyphen that can be added on, but the A actually stands for assertive. So after I took, the 16 personalities test, the Myers-Briggs personality thing, they deemed me an INFP, and then they put the A on there, I guess, based on my responses for assertive, which was interesting to me.
Awesome. Yeah, I think mine is T, which is
okay. What's the T?
Turbulent.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It made a lot of sense to me. It was like, oh.
That explains it.
Yeah, that's why there's a little bit of craziness going on a lot of the time.
Awesome.
Yeah, so most of my audience is INFJs, but I know that we do have a little bit of INFPs. So I just wanted to go over the difference just a little bit because there really isn't that much of a difference.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
The only difference that I can really come up with that sounds practical is how we make decisions. So usually INFPs have a little bit more struggle with making decisions. They like to keep things open and more easygoing, go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Where INFJs are a little bit more structured. We like to have a plan. We like to, at least if it's a rough plan, and then we like to make decisions a little bit more structured, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Okay.
we usually have something in mind as to what we want to do.
Yeah, that actually makes sense because I struggle terribly with making decisions. Like it's a constant struggle where I give myself analysis paralysis, just weighing decisions and things like that because you want to make the best decision, but you also, like you said, have that tendency to want to be free and open and oh, I don't know if I want to tie myself to that decision just yet. So and you kind of wait to me, I know I end up waiting almost to the 11th hour and then I have to make a decision. So that's
Yes,
interesting.
I do that sometimes too. And I think that as INFJs, we do that sometimes too. But we struggle with a lot of perfectionism, which I'm sure
Hmm.
you probably have too.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and so that's a lot of the times where I get stuck
Hmm.
in the planning mode is what I call it. It's like I can see
uh
all of the different options and I
yeah.
just want to find the first one before I actually, or the best one before I actually do something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't know because I haven't explored all the options, and so you just keep looking and looking for the best one. But at some point,
Right?
you have to just pick.
Right? Just do something.
Right? It's like I don't know what I want because I don't know every single option that's available. So.
Right? I have to explore them all first.
Exactly. I'm actually doing that right now because I'm moving. I'm staying in town. I'm staying in Las Vegas, but I'm moving and I've just been looking at just countless places and I'm just like, okay, I have to move literally in 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, I need to decide like now where I'm going.
Oh my goodness. I've done that a couple of times. I moved to Boston a couple of years ago. And not only is Boston terrible because the rent prices are incredibly
Oh
high,
yeah, I bet. I bet.
but then it's also what part of the city do I want to live in? And
Yeah.
commute. And then it's like the rental listings have things like includes hot water. And I'm like,
Oh goodness.
what does
That's an
that
amenity.
mean? Like, so then I had to go into this whole like philosophy of Boston rentals. Like, why do some of them say includes hot water? Like, do some of them not include hot water?
Right. Oh, that's scary. Like you gotta list that as an amenity, like that it includes hot water. My goodness.
Yes,
Especially in Boston, like it gets too cold there to not have hot water.
yeah. And so I'm from the Midwest originally.
Okay.
And in the Midwest, air conditioning is just a thing that everybody has. It's a given.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have air conditioning, then you must be like seriously poor
Yeah.
or live way out in the
Yeah.
country or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just roughing it.
Right? So when I moved to Boston, I noticed that only like half of the listings, if that, say that they have air conditioning. And I'm
And
like,
you were like, what?
do some people just list it and some people don't? And then I
Yeah.
start looking at apartments and they're like, no, there is no air conditioning. And I'm like,
Mm.
I don't know how to live like that.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I'm originally from the Midwest too, Indiana. And so it was the same thing, it was heating air, but it got pretty cold there because I was from right outside Chicago, so we got the lake effect snow and below zero temperatures.
Right?
And yeah, but in the summertime, it would get warm, so we also had air conditioning in it, and that is odd, like to go somewhere and air conditioning is optional, but
Yeah.
hot
And
water takes the cake.
in Boston, it gets really hot too. I mean, there are plenty of days that are well over 90 degrees. So when you're indoors,
Wow.
it's worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Sounds miserable if you don't have air conditioning.
it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome. So I wanted to talk to you. Um, I saw your book on your
Okay.
website and it just stood out to me like the most amazing thing that I definitely need in my life. And I'm so excited to read it.
I'm glad.
I just turned 34.
Okay.
And your book, just so that everybody knows, it's called Single That, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I just turned 34 and I've been single for the longest time. And especially over the holidays, it seems like people keep asking me, like, so who are you going out with? Or when are you getting married? Or like, is there something wrong with you? Is there some kind of
Mhm.
reason why you're not married?
Mhm.
And I just love the fact that you want to dispel all of that and educate people on the fact that there isn't anything wrong with you if you're single.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the biggest point that I wanted to get across. Like there isn't anything wrong with you. And so when I wrote Single That, it's the subtitle is Dispelling the Top 10 Myths of the Single Woman. And that's the idea that I had in mind is like, I just got tired of seeing just seeing things said about single women, unflattering labels, and saying things along the lines of that there is something wrong, especially once you hit your 30s, because I guess in your 20s it's expected that it's okay, quote, I'm doing air quotes, it's okay to just have fun and explore and things like that. But once you get into your 30s, people just expect you to get married and have children and raise a family and just go down this list of items that they think you should be doing with your life. And if you're not, they do attach kind of this negative stigma and make all these assumptions about you and want to tell you why you're single as though you're a problem to be fixed. And that's the biggest thing that I wanted to address, is that being single is not some kind of problem or issue that needs to be tackled. It's a relationship status like any other relationship status. And I think, none of us are defined by relationship status. We all have much more to offer than being single, or even just being a wife and a mother, or attached, whatever your relationship status is. I feel like we are so much more than that as women. And that's the biggest point that I wanted to get across in the book.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so amazing. I mean, I've been trying to tell people that for such a long time, that like like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter that just because you're a certain age doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
That waiting and choosing the right person the first time means so much more than just
Mm-hmm.
picking somebody to get married to.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like, there are no absolutes. You may believe that you chose the right person. You may wait and be patient and do your due diligence and think, okay, I made a good decision. And it still may not turn out the way that you hoped. That's just life. And that's what happens when you're dealing with human beings. It still may not go the way you want. But I feel like it's a more serious decision than we don't always give enough credit to how serious of a decision it should be. It is not just something you check off of a list like, okay, you're in your 30s, I'm in your 30s, let's get married and start a family. You have to
Right.
look at, is this person right for me? And, look at values and actually assess, the probability of this being a healthy, stable relationship. And two, if you decide that you don't want to, if you just want to be single and do other things and travel and just enjoy life, like that's fine too. And I just find that, especially with women, like a man that's single, it's assumed like, oh, he's a bachelor, he's having fun, da 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 da. But a woman, you're a spinster, and why are you single? And why aren't you doing what you're here to do? It's one of
Right.
those, yeah, one of those things. And it goes back to, a long history of gender roles and things where women are supposed to, bear children, and we're looked at as always being ready to settle down with the first person willing, and you labeled a ball and chain and things like that, because it's assumed that we're keeping partners from exploring because we want to settle down. And so it's just, if you don't want those things right now, or if you're not sure, if you're just taking your time or you're taking a break, like that's totally fine too. Like as a woman, we are not obligated to even aspire to those things.
Right. Yes. I feel like for me, some of the pressure comes from my family, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot more pressure comes from my friends, and not really in
Mm.
a direct way, but
Mm-hmm.
just in like you know, they all have kids and they all have husbands and
Mm-hmm.
they don't really know what to do with me.
Mm-hmm. Right, like, do you want to go to the bouncy house today? You're like, no.
Right. Right. And part of it comes from me not really being able to relate to them, because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I have these two friends that I like to go out to dinner with, and I'm like,
you guys, we haven't been out to dinner since July. Like, we need to do something. And they're like, they need 2 weeks head notice.
Yeah.
They have babysitters. And I'm like, why is this so hard? Like, can't we just go tomorrow?
Yeah, it's so funny because I saw a meme like a few days ago that was like my single friends, and then it said, you know, their single friends were like, hey, do you want to go to Italy next week? Like, like, you know, when you're single, you kind of can just do, you know, as you know, come and go as you please. And when you're not, or you have children, it's a little different for you. So I would agree. Most of the pressure probably comes from friends. I would say the same thing, even if it's inadvertent. You know, even if they mean well, it's just like it's always a topic of conversation. It seems, and I talk about that in Single That as well, because it's like anytime you go out, it feels like sometimes the conversation just automatically turns to your relationship status and your being single, and oh, who's here? Are there any eligible, partners here? And let's look around for you. And who are you dating? And da da da. Which is fine to an extent, but I also want to, like, it goes back to just being a whole person. I don't want that to be the main topic of conversation anytime I'm with anyone, friends or family. I feel like, we do so many other things that we're proud of and that are important to us, and accomplish these amazing things and have these experiences. And sometimes it just feels like, no one wants to talk about that, not nearly as much as they want to talk about your being single. So yeah,
Right.
I definitely think, the pressure can come more from friends, and probably too just you may be with them more, or, have a different type of relationship. But the pressure definitely comes, even if it's inadvertent, just the
Yeah.
fact that it's always a topic of conversation.
Yeah. You sit down and they talk about their kids and they complain about their
Mm-hmm.
husbands. And then they look at you and they're like, so what are you doing to fix this? Like,
Well, yeah,
what dating apps are you on? Do you call that
right.
matchmaker that I sent you their information? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't have
Yeah.
$6,000 to talk to the matchmaker. So
Right.
you're okay.
Right. It's treated like this big, huge issue. Like, what are you doing? And I'm gonna hook you up with someone, and I'm gonna find someone. And it's like, okay, like, and you may be okay with it, or you may, we all probably aspire to have someone to share our journey with. But you may be overall okay with it, but it's like other people around you seem to be more up in arms about it than you are. And sometimes, it can be a little hurtful sometimes, because it's like, okay, like, is that all that I am? Is that all that you see me as? Is, this problem, this single woman who needs to find someone? So it definitely can be a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the really important things for me, I feel like, is finding the right person. And
Mm-hmm.
I've watched so many of my friends get married, and now I'm watching them get divorced because
Mm-hmm.
it seems like they're a different person now than what they were when they got married. And I feel the same way about myself. Like, I mean, I feel like I've been 3 whole different persons since I was 20 years old. And so I love that you talked about being yourself
Mm-hmm.
and learning how to be yourself more, because I feel like that's a constant journey for me because I'm always changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is true. Like, we're constantly evolving. I feel like if you're the same person in your 30s that you were 18, 19, 20, I that would make me a little sad because that means you're not growing. So you're going to constantly evolve, but three whole different persons. That's interesting. But yeah, but it's all about being comfortable with who you are in this moment. So whoever you were at 20, being comfortable with being that person. Whoever you were at 25, being comfortable at that age, and whoever you are now at 34, being comfortable with this person, and feeling like you can be that person, and whatever your personality has evolved to, your likes, your dislikes, your needs, your wants, that's okay. And then, because that's being authentic, is the only way that you can attract someone who cares for you authentically. Like, if you're trying to be what you think someone wants as a partner or as a wife, then they're attracted to kind of a facade. That's not to say that you can't, work on aspects of yourself, or let's say you don't really like to cook, but you want to be able to cook more for this person, so you start doing it more. That's different, if you just little aspects you focus on and that you try to work on for another person. But if you're being like a completely different person and pretending that you aren't what you are, or pretending to like things that you don't like, you're not it's going to be difficult to attract someone who cares for you authentically, because they kind of care for the person that you've pretended to be, in a sense, or person that you've shown them. So I think it's important to be yourself at all times and show someone who you really are, and then you can find out who really cares for you, as opposed to someone who just cares for the image that you've shown them.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that 100%. I
Mm-hmm.
think that a lot of us fall into the trap of trying to give people what they want because
Mm-hmm.
we feel like we don't know who we are as a person, but then also sometimes we feel like we're not enough as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And I think when you are, in your 30s and single or beyond, you can start to wonder, like, okay, is it me? Am I missing something? Is something wrong? But I think we can probably all think back to dating situations or opportunities that we had to be in relationships or possibly committed to someone, and it wasn't what we wanted, or it wasn't right. So it's not always that there's no options out there. I mean, if someone really really wants to not be single anymore, it's not really that hard, to just go out there and pick someone. But it's about being happy and finding what you want. But it can make you struggle a little bit with thoughts about, okay, like, what is it about me that's making this more challenging than it should be? Or why am I still single, especially when you have a circle around you always asking these questions, like, why are you single? So it can kind of make you feel like, you're not enough of something, and that's unfortunate, and other people can add to that feeling. But like I said, I just feel like if you're being authentically yourself, you are enough no matter what anybody else says. It's up to you to decide if you are the best version of yourself that you can be, or if you're working to offer that version of yourself. And if you're comfortable with who you are and what you're offering, and that you're trying, sincerely to offer the best version of yourself, that's enough. Nobody else can decide whether or not you're enough.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's definitely something for me that I've been working on a lot this last year. It seems like I've heard about this concept of self-love, and I say it that way
Mhm.
because to me it's always been like this concept that I didn't really understand.
Mhm.
And in the last year, it's really kind of hit home for me, and I'm starting to understand it a lot more. And
Mhm.
not only understand what it means to me, but what it means for all of the relationships that I have in my life.
Mhm.
It plays a big role in the people that you attract.
Yeah, it does. And I agree. We kind of throw around the term of self-love a lot, and not always understanding really what it means or what we need to do to love ourselves. But it does play a role in the type of partners that you attract, whether you attract people who respect you and care for you and show that, or people that don't. And it's not always our fault. Like, I don't want to put the blame on the person who's being disrespected or treated poorly at all, because at the end of the day, it comes down to the character and integrity of that other person. But self-love is a big part of it, because when you truly love yourself, you won't accept certain things, and you'll be fine with telling someone that, this is what I need and this is how I feel about XYZ, and making decisions accordingly. You'll be more comfortable walking away from relationships that don't serve you or that make you feel bad about yourself, and you'll be more comfortable alone, when you love yourself, when you enjoy your own company, when you're fine just reading a book or going to a coffee shop, or maybe going to see a movie alone. I know some of these things can be a little awkward if you're out by yourself, but I think that's especially suited to an introvert, because I think we're a little more comfortable being alone than extroverts. So, but when you love yourself, you enjoy your own company, and you do things that add to your joy and that are fulfilling, with or without a partner.
Right. Do you ever worry about getting too comfortable being alone? Because I feel like I'm kind of in this space
Hmm.
where I'm like, I love the quiet time and the solitude, and I'm almost getting comfortable, going to restaurants by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
Yeah.
I could share this with anybody else.
No, I hear you. And yes, I do sometimes worry about that because I think the longer that you're alone and the more comfortable you get alone, the less, number one, the less like you are up to put up with, people invading your space that don't necessarily add to it. And then you
Right.
kind of do enjoy it. You enjoy just getting up and having peace and quiet, or coming home after a long day and the house is quiet and you don't have to deal with anyone, and you can do whatever you want to do. You can watch whatever you want to watch on television. You can cook, you can not cook. You don't have to think about anyone other than yourself. And solitude can sometimes be comforting, because like I said, it's quiet, it's peaceful, and when someone comes in and disrupts that space, it's not always the most comfortable thing. So I do think about that, and I have to really like check that, like, okay, am I getting too comfortable alone to where you get kind of nitpicky just because just because you're enjoying that time to yourself. But what I
Yes.
try to yeah so what I try to look at is, it has, I think when you are comfortable alone, and especially when you're a natural introvert, the person that you choose has to add to your life. They have to add value to your life. They have to be a welcome disruption to your space, because if not, you're not, it's going to be a struggle to actually let them in.
Yes. Yes, for sure. I see a lot of information out there about introverts and how they should go out with extroverted partners.
Mm.
And I think to myself, yeah, that's not going to work for me. I like quiet time, and
Yeah.
I have this idea of finding another introvert who just wants to be
Hmm.
alone together.
Right, we just sit in a room and don't talk.
We could just both sit there on the couch and scroll through our Facebook feeds.
Right.
If we want to talk, we can message over Facebook.
Right. That's so funny. That's so funny. And that's interesting because, I mean, I get it. I get it. I get why they say introverts should be paired with extroverts, because it's all about balance, the yin and the yang. So you have, for this one person who is more introverted and likes to do things alone, you have this other person who gets them out a little more and around people a little more, and both are probably important, so I can get it from a balance standpoint. But like, I dated an introvert, a fellow introvert, before, and our 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 dating, our courtship started out kind of a little awkward. Like, it felt a little forced because we're both introverts, so it's maybe not as natural as it is for extroverts to engage initially. So it started out a little awkward and felt a little forced. But after a little while of spending time together and getting to know each other, it was a great, free flowing relationship where it felt like we got each other. If somebody said, they were doing something, it wasn't questioned. If I said I was writing tonight, it wasn't questioned. It was like, okay, I'll give you that time to write, let me know when you're done. Or, it wasn't a struggle. But and then when I've dated people who aren't introverts, who just don't really understand, it turns into, oh, you need too much time to yourself and you need too much time alone, and I want to see the person that I'm with every day, every single day. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. Like,
Right? It's a lot.
right, like, this is like kind of terrifying for me. because because especially as an introvert, you enjoy that time to yourself. That's where you get your energy and you recharge, and it's a little terrifying for someone to just want to invade all of that space. You not just a little part of it, but just feel like you need to be with them all of the time. I think that can be a little scary for introverts. So my relationship with the introvert, like I said, we got each other. We didn't have to be with each other all the time, and no one ever felt threatened by it. Where I've learned that, like, the extroverts I've dated, they kind of took it as a slight, as me not liking them or wanting to be with them, and which was totally not the case. They just didn't get it.
Right. It's like that meme that
Hmm.
there's an introvert that's sitting reading a book, and then their extroverted partner comes home and just flips on all the lights and the TV and the radio, and they just want to sit down and talk about their day. Like, oh my God.
Right. And they come home and start a party. And you just want to sit and read. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's why, like I said, I can see both sides. How with an extrovert it would be maybe more balanced, or more balanced that you might need. But with an introvert, I think, introverts get each other, and you can give each other that space without feeling threatened and slighted, because you know that you need it. So you're fine with the other person having it, and also giving them space to themselves allows you space to yourself, so it works out perfectly.
Right. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So, can you tell me how you got into writing? Because I've always had this dream of being a writer, and I talk to so many INFJs who are writers as well. So I'm always curious.
Well, I started when I was living in Indiana. Like I said, I was right outside Chicago. So I started with writing for some local publications where I would cover events. So I was a music writer for a local publication, and then I was covering the Chicago Bulls, which is a sports team. I was a college athlete, so sports just kind of came naturally to me. So I started there, just covering for some local publications, and from there, Yahoo Sports just read some of my work, came across some of my work, and they were looking for someone in the Chicago area to cover Chicago teams. So they reached out to me, and I wrote for them for a little while. And from there, it's just become, I mean, it's not easy, you can sit down and write. That's not the issue, but it's about if you want to make a career of it, or even if you want to freelance, like it can be done. It just takes a lot of legwork and research and finding opportunities. And then when I moved to Las Vegas, kind of the same thing. I got in with the local publications first. There's a KNPR Public Radio here owns a magazine called Desert Companion. I wrote for them and a bunch of other local pubs. I would say that's the place to start. And they're not always easy to get a hold of, and editors don't always respond. But if you can find some local publications, or even if you're just getting started and you have no experience writing, I recommend like just writing for some free sites that you can contribute to, or starting your own blog just to perfect the craft. And then from there, you just, like I said, you can contact your local publications and just have to do some legwork and find out who accepts freelance writing. And eventually, if your work, is good, eventually people will start to find you, because they'll read your work and they'll like it. And from there, it becomes a more word of mouth thing, or just people finding you online.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about that we didn't cover?
No, I feel like we touched on a lot of things. So yeah, so no, but yeah, dating as an introvert is a very, I think, unique experience. And if you don't know, some people don't know that they're introverts or extroverts, and you don't really understand why you are the way you are. And I think that makes it hard to know what you need from a relationship, or why you don't mesh well with these types of people. So I think it's about learning yourself first. But yeah, dating as an introvert is a very unique experience, just because, we may not date the same way, people are used to, or if they've dated more extroverted people, it may not be the same, because of the whole, we do like time to ourselves, and aren't afraid to do things alone. And that may be a little different for some people. And just being comfortable alone, can be a challenge in and of itself, like we spoke of. So I think it's just about learning yourself, and from there you can learn what you need, what you want, and then just try to align yourself with people that can offer that.
Yeah. It makes such a huge difference knowing your personality type and understanding other people's personality types as well.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, dating as an introvert is an adventure, and but it's fun.
Yes, for sure. Awesome. So tell us where we can find you, your website and your social media.
Okay. Well, on social media, I am at Acamea LD on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. My website is acameadeadwiler.com, and my book, Single That: Dispelling the Top 10 Myths of the Single Woman, is available on Amazon. If you don't want to shop at the retail giant, it's also, yeah, I know some people don't, want to buy things from Amazon. It's also at barnesandnoble.com and Books A Million. So anywhere pretty much you can buy books online, you can find it.
Good deal. Cool. And I'll put a link for it in the show notes as well. So anybody who wants to check it out can find it there.
Alrighty.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And I really enjoyed talking to you too.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
I hope you guys enjoyed that interview as much as I did. I really enjoyed talking to Acamea. Here are some takeaways. Being single doesn't mean that you're broken. Sometimes the pressure of being single comes not only from our family, but also from our friends, even when they don't mean it. It's so important to get to know yourself before you start dating. And make sure that you spend some time getting comfortable being alone so that you don't settle for somebody just so that you can be in a relationship. All right, that's all that we have for today. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Make sure that you subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast and leave a review. It helps other people to be able to find us. We'll see you again next week.